Hello and welcome to Car Free Conversations. This is a podcast where we talk about making the most of St. Pete without the use of a car. I'm Domenico,
And I'm Sumitra.
and today our guest is Mark O'Hara. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Mark, you are the chair of the Riders Advisory Committee of the PSTA.
That is correct, yes.
Well, I'm very excited to have you. But before we get into talking about public transit and the PSTA, we would like to play a round of Transit Jeopardy.
Okay.
So we've put together a little game. There are 9 questions, well, actually 10, technically 10 questions.
Okay.
Uh, there are 3 categories. Okay, you're going to choose a category,
Mhm.
right? And then we are going to give you a question based on those categories. The 3 categories are local service, that's
Mhm.
transit in Tampa Bay.
Mhm.
That's what the questions are about. Coast to coast, those questions are about national transit history.
Okay.
And around the world, which is international transit trivia.
Okay, and in order, those are probably going to be as hard as they get for me.
All right.
All
All
right,
right.
so
So first
let's
category.
start with some local stuff.
All right. Okay, I'll start it off.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So for 200 points, and I should say, by the way, these points are non-redeemable. I have no cash value. Not redeemable for anything at all, uh, other than satisfaction.
But
In,
other than bragging rights, yeah.
Oh yeah.
yes, in 2011, PSTA set its historic annual ridership record with this number of riders.
For the year?
2011. How many riders
Oh,
did
they
the P?
probably had about for the whole system,
Yep.
1 million, 2 million, somewhere in there.
13.1 million.
Okay. See, I should
Yeah.
know more about this.
Yes.
But in my defense, I did not become the chair until 2015. So we're going
Ah,
back before my involvement
ah.
with PSTA.
I want to point out for those listening on Sunshine FM or on the radio, which is most people, that Mark is wearing a shirt that I've never seen before, and it is a 2023 APTA Transit System of the Year Award T-shirt with the PSTA logo
Yes, and
underneath.
I think there's something on the back too.
It says "Best in the Nation." Mark, tell us
Yes.
about for those people that don't know
Yes,
what it
that's
is. Tell
it's
us
such a
about it.
cool award.
Yes, that's a big deal. PSTA was named the best transit system in the nation for a system of its size. So cities it's comparable to Jacksonville, Buffalo, my hometown, um, Milwaukee. We were the best in the nation. And don't want to take up a whole lot of time with this, but when we get all these data points and they look at like different cities and then like how much money per person they're spending, PST is always the lowest. We
Yep.
spend the least amount per person in Pinellas County, whereas like Buffalo, they're spending thousands of dollars more per person. So
Wow.
for PSC to do it with a very limited budget, it really says a lot about our finance department. And I'm also shouting out to our CFO because she's also from Buffalo too, and she also likes the Buffalo Bills.
Well, that's something to say to those people that say we spend too much money on transit because we don't.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's great to
We
hear.
clearly don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, we
All right,
should
what's your
get to the
name for
second
Sumit?
question. This is for 100 points because it's fairly easy, I think.
Okay.
Um, St. Pete's first streetcar line opened in 1903, connecting St. Petersburg to its nearby town. What is the name of the town?
That's where I live. Gulfport.
Yes, you're correct. You get 100 points.
Woohoo!
Can you can you name what it was called back then?
Oh, the town or the line?
The town.
It was something about retired veterans over here, something like that, I think.
It was called Distant City.
Distant City?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of the original name of Bay Pines.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
My geography is just a little off.
all right. Next question. Are we going to stay in this category, or do you want to jump to a different category?
No, we can finish this category and then we'll go to the next one.
All right. This public transit line takes riders across our beautiful Tampa Bay by ferrying them between downtown St. Pete and downtown Tampa. This is for 300 points.
Oh, 100X.
No.
You didn't hear the question right.
This
Cross Bay Ferry.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I thought you were talking about a PSTA service.
Ah,
No, general a line
Oh.
takes you directly across the Tampa Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and you can pick it up in downtown St. Pete, Cross Bay
Mhm.
Ferry.
But it is a good push for 100X too. So
that's true. I always see them and I'm always like, oh, one day I want to ride this.
the first time I rode the 100X, the line actually had the like Greyhound buses. So you sat in these nice seats
Oh,
and they had plugs
nice.
in them.
Yeah.
Don't know where those buses ended up, but seriously, not sure where they got rid of it because I would have loved to just sat in traffic on the Howard Franklin and had somebody else drive across for me.
Yeah. That sounds so lovely.
Yes.
It's usually my partner who drives, so I do get to be that person, but yeah.
Same. Somebody else is
Does-
usually driving me across the bridge.
Right, exactly. All right,
But
next
does your,
question. Oh, go ahead, go ahead, Dom.
does your partner drive a plush Greyhound bus though?
No, he doesn't. No, that's true. That would be amazing. Imagine just me in the Greyhound bus.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that sounds very wasteful.
Only if you're showing up to a concert like that.
Right, true. Um, Next question. This is
Mhm.
for 200 points.
Mhm.
With over 4,000 bus stops, 46 routes, and 200 transit vehicles, the PSTA boasts this number of average daily riders.
Ooh. I'm gonna go with 12,000. Am I even close?
No,
Should I put a 0 on the end of this number?
not that far.
Oh, okay. 80,000. No, there can't be 80,000 people that ride a day in St. Pete. Maybe I should 8,000. No.
No.
Okay, I'm
No.
way off. I should have done my homework before I came here. I thought this was going to be easy Jeopardy. Like, how many wheels are there on a bus?
Well, it depends if it's a vestibule bus or like a
See, that's what I
right?
mean.
You should know buses.
The daily
Embarrass me. Tell me how much.
the daily average for a weekday is 28,659 riders.
My phone is going to go off. I'm going to get phone calls from my friends at PSTA. Like, how do you not know this?
Okay, well, the rest of these questions I think will be less embarrassing if you don't know them. Which one would you like to into, coast to coast or around the world?
Let's do coast to coast because I also have an affinity for Amtrak.
All right,
Oh,
here we go. This is not an Amtrak question, actually. The very first public transit line in the US was a horse-drawn omnibus, which was barely any faster than walking. This short-lived mode of public transportation was first introduced in 1829 in this US city.
I'm going to go with Boston.
You're so close.
It wasn't Boston. Boston was the third city, and Boston technically has the first subway line.
Yes.
Mhm.
New York City had the first public,
Yeah.
omnibus, first public transit line, we can say. So it's New York.
Boston had a lot of firsts, though.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah, they did.
Next one. Fueled by Henry Ford's efforts and cheap gasoline, transit's profitability plummeted through the 1920s. But this American city was ahead of its time when it launched the very first municipal railway system in 1912. And this question is for 400 points.
So we're talking like a subway?
Yeah.
So would it well,
It-
would it
Well,
be, is it Boston?
Just the first the first publicly funded transit organization.
Oh,
yeah.
Um, is it Chicago?
No.
Oh. New York. Is it New York? Again? It can't be New York again.
It's on the other coast.
It's on the other coast, San Francisco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but I was also like, huh. But
What's
I think
interesting, it came way before anybody else started doing that. Like
well, no, yeah, I think it's also like most of the other transit agencies were like privately funded a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Like you had those two subway lines, two different competing subways in New York City that were
Yeah.
privately funded before they were taken
Right.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tampa had a few, I think Tampa had three at one point, competing streetcar, not
Mhm.
subways.
Mhm.
No subways in Tampa. Okay, next question, coast to coast. Tennessee Williams' modern classic play, A Streetcar Named Desire, was named after an actual public transit line whose terminus station was Desire Street in this American city.
New Orleans.
Yes, you got it for 500 points.
Yes.
All right, I'm supposed to say
It's fun riding the trolleys in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, it's just like the architecture that you go through, just like the lush greenery that's around like the streetcar lines in New Orleans is beautiful.
Yeah, I was there last January. We had a lot of fun taking it all over the place.
Need to go. I haven't been.
Should we jump to the last category?
Around the world.
Okay, here we go.
I had some.
Should I start?
Yeah, yeah.
Here in Pinellas County, a transit pass is called the Flamingo card. In London, it's the Oyster card. And in Bangkok, it's called a rabbit card. Hong Kong named its transit card after this sea creature. And this is for 600 points.
I've seen it on my phone before. I can't remember it though. It's not Kraken, is it?
You're kind of close. What is another sea creature that's like a kraken?
An octopus, shark. Oh my gosh.
No, you got it. It's octopus.
Oh, okay.
I always think it's so I put this question together because I find it very endearing when a city names its transit passes after like animals for some reason. It's just so much nicer than it being like a Metro card or something. And I like that ours is the Flamingo.
Or like the company that's like administering them.
Yeah, yeah, like a Tico or Line or whatever.
Well, like in Chicago, it's called a Ventra card because that's the company that like administers them. And I was like, this is very
There's
unappreciative.
there's enough corporate branding in our culture. I don't need that. I want like a cute animal, like
Yes,
or a bird or something,
right.
something that makes me feel good.
Buffalo just went to a card system like Flamingo, and it's a very boring name. Metgo, Metgo.
Mm-mm.
The city is named after an animal. They had an opportunity there and they missed it.
Right.
Actually, Buffalo is not named after an animal.
It's named after the sauce. Or I mean, the sauce comes from buffalo.
Right.
Yeah.
But the word
Why?
buffalo comes from the French for the French beautiful river, Bouffalou.
Oh.
That's how the word buffalo came about. It has nothing to do with bison, animals, nothing.
For those of you listening on radio, I want to just express the sheer disappointment that is on my face from learning this horrible fact about buffalo.
What?
I thought it was named after the animal, and I thought that's so much better.
Nope.
It
But
is.
we have embraced the name Buffalo, and it's obviously the logo of our
Right.
city.
Yeah. It is on the St.
All right.
Lawrence Seaway, right? Or is it
No,
not?
it's where Lake Erie turns into the Niagara
Right,
River,
right.
and
Yeah.
there's also the Buffalo River, and then it goes over
Okay.
Niagara Falls.
All right. For 600 points, Mark. Trains that are equipped with a traditional hopper toilet discourage passengers from using the restroom while the train is doing this for 600 points.
Stopped in the station.
Yep.
Yeah, that is
Mm-hmm. I've been on one of those.
because it evacuates right into the tracks.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it does. I have been in a lot of them.
Yeah, which after I learned that, I was afraid to use the restroom on airplanes because I was like, what happens? What happens? But I looked it up. It doesn't. So don't worry.
Um, Next one for 800 points. This South Asian country's capital hosts the largest bus network in the world, with over 156 miles of bus lines operated by 3,900 buses.
Is it Delhi?
No,
Am I in the right country?
no.
Okay, so hold on. South, you said South Asia, right?
South.
Southeast.
Oh, Southeast Asia. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go then. I think it's Bangkok.
Close.
No.
Saigon, Taipei.
This is hard because there are a lot of very large Southeast Asian
Yes.
cities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would not have
This
guessed.
this city is sinking.
Well,
Or
wait, it is?
yeah, they're moving their capital to another city because the city is sinking.
What? Where?
I haven't.
Or it's like really crazy.
That
Where
is
is
very
this?
It's Jakarta.
Oh,
Indonesia.
oh,
Isn't it
that's
Wow.
wild? When I read that, I was like, I don't know what this means, but I mean people say that it's sinking, but I think they are just like it's too congested, so they're moving the administrative capital to like another city so that they can decongest Jakarta.
Do you know what city they're moving it to?
No, I think they're like developing like a whole new city
Mm,
for their capital.
interesting.
You know, like how Australia did like the Canberra and Brazil did Brasilia, where like they just moved like the administrative offices to like a new capital.
Yeah.
Interesting. Last question.
Okay.
For 1,000 points, Mark.
Oh boy.
1,000 points. The gravity. This country carried about 8 billion passengers on its passenger trains in the year 2013, the highest in the world.
Um, is it India?
It is 1,000 points. You got it. You win. You win Jeopardy.
Yay!
One.
That number is crazy.
That is a crazy amount of people.
I've
Yeah.
seen the passenger trains in India, and the people are literally just holding onto the sides of them as it goes along.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so there's an OSHA person who's probably having a fit watching this right now.
Yeah. Mhm.
Wow. Well, that was fun and enlightening.
We all learned something.
We
Yes.
did. We did. We should do Jeopardy. I liked that. I thought that was
I
fun.
really like that. Yes, that
Yeah.
was a good one.
So now we're here with, for those of you just tuning in, we're here with Mark O'Hara, who's the chair of the Transit Riders Advisory Committee of the PSTA. Mark, tell us a little bit about what that is. What does the Transit Riders Advisory Committee do? What do you do?
Well, we are a group of transit riders from all different backgrounds, from all parts of Pinellas County. There's people from St. Pete, South St. Pete, Gulfport, the beaches, Clearwater, who we all get together, and whatever's going to end up going in front of the Board of Commissioners, the people who run PSTA, comes in front of us a week ahead of time. So we get to give our input on whatever measure it is that they may be voting on or be presented with. So then our voices can also be heard at that meeting the following week. We also have a representative on our board who also sits on the Forward Pinellas board. So they go to that meeting and find out about countywide projects that involve all kinds of transit, from roads, the project at Gateway Mall, or the Gateway project, to what they're going to do with bike lanes or a pedestrian bridge on US 19 all the way up in Tarpon. So they get to hear about everything, and they come back and report to us as well. So we get to give our input, and because staff is at those meetings, there's an open and question period at the end, and we can tell them what we see and what we think about how service is going throughout the county, because we're
So
out there, we're the ones experiencing it.
it sounds like a very productive, organization. It sounds probably more productive than the board itself. But I'm curious, how is that information then presented to the board? Do they take, and do you feel like they're taking all of that seriously? Like, how is that being processed?
There are board members who will ask before they vote on something, what did track view, but what was their view of this? And at every board meeting, the chairperson of track, right now it's me, reads a report about what we presented and what we saw and what our input was, and what we're thinking. And we always invite board members and the general public to our meetings as well.
That sounds very helpful. Or, I mean, like it just sounds like you are doing like really good work just in keeping all these things in check and then presenting that to the board and vice versa. So that's
It,
really
it it also adds a lot of credibility to the current board, right?
right.
That they're actually collaborating with you uh, after you haven't been doing all this work,
Mhm.
that they're collaborating with you and listening to you. I think that says a lot about the way it's being by the whole how the whole operation is being run. That's really interesting and really really cool, actually.
Well, and part of that is what led to us being named Transit System of the Year, because it's not a title, a award that's just handed out to everybody. It's not a participation trophy, so to speak. But they look at what PSTA does and how they rank in different areas, and because they involve transit riders, their customers, directly in the decision-making process, it allows them to score more points in that evaluation.
Oh, interesting.
What made you join the Transit Riders Advisory Committee?
So back in 2015, I decided to ditch driving. I got into a bad car accident, and I was like, this is I'm just done. Uber was in its infancy. I was just like, I'm just gonna have to do this. So I did. And I was on the bus one day or on Facebook, and I saw that they were looking for people for the Transit Riders Committee. And I was like, hey, that would be great for me. I at that time had a lot of free time on my hands. So I applied. And the first time I actually didn't get in. Then they called me and said, hey, can you apply again? Because we got an opening. We got to have an updated form. Sure, I'll fill it out. So I went in as an alternate for the city of St. Petersburg. And the person didn't show up twice, so I got moved over as a regular board member, and then I think the following year I was elected the chairperson, and except for a small period of time where I had to take a break from the board or the committee because of my current job, I've been the chairperson. It's been interesting. It's been very interesting to get to know the staff at PSTA, what their concerns are, what our concerns are, and having to bring everybody together.
Yeah, and since you were riding the said transit, you can actually make salient points about your experience with the said transit, as opposed to someone else coming in who has never like
Mhm.
been on a bus before.
Well, one
So
of the questions that's asked on the application
I
is, what routes do you ride and how
Mhm.
often? And if you put none, I mean, I've never been part of the decision-making process,
Right.
but I'm sure if you put none, that's probably going to put your application towards, the bottom of the pile.
Bottom. Yeah, yeah. As it should.
So, so most of the people on this committee are ride transit regularly, if not all
That's
of them.
correct. Yeah, they also ask you your frequency of riding.
Yeah.
Um, with COVID, mine went from being 5 days a week to like 3,
Yeah.
because of working from home. But I'm still out there. I'm still doing it. You know,
Mhm.
in a couple of weeks we have Local Topia coming up. Trust me, I will be taking local transit because trying to get a car in downtown St. Pete on Local Topia Day. Oh no,
Oh
no.
yeah, that's people all the time. They're like, "Oh, parking's so hard." I'm like, "Don't take your car.
Take the
Yeah.
Stop.
Sunrunner.
You don't have
Yeah.
to. You
Yeah,
don't
and
have
that's
to."
kind of where my next I don't want to say project, but what my next goal is for St. Pete, for PSTA, is to have our bus lines, instead of all feeding into Grand Central, we should have lines from Gulfport going up and down 58th Avenue, 40,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, 58th Street, 49th Street,
Yeah.
that feed into those Sunrunner stations.
Yeah.
And then people can get on and go
That
downtown.
will be so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we can, committee member, he's not on our committee anymore, came up with is parking your car along First Avenue North or South, and then catching the
Yeah.
Sunrunner to go
Yeah.
downtown, and then it's like it's like a park and ride because there's all that
Yeah.
parking along First Avenue. We just recommend parking by the station you're going to be getting off at, not on at, so you don't have to cross the
Mhm.
street.
Yeah.
Smart.
Beginning with the end in mind.
No, that is smart. I also have started sort of organizing my rides around the Sunrunner because I like it so much. So I'm
Yes.
always like, how can I get close to First Avenue, north or
Hmm.
south, whatever
Yeah.
way. Is
So I think
usually
it would be great to have like a bus that went up and down, or a route that somehow linked that Sunrunner station at 22nd
Mhm.
down 22nd Street past, they got the art thing at 5th, they got Three Daughters, or it's a, yeah, Three Daughters,
Yeah.
and then going down into the Deuces. It
Yeah.
would be like,
yeah.
oh, this is a great, like a link back and forth.
There is the I think it's at number, I don't know, but the one that goes on Ninth Avenue South that feeds into that corridor, but it doesn't come up to Sunrunner,
Right.
which is
And that leads
on
into
22nd. Yeah.
community bus plan that we're have
Yeah.
going on right now, and seeing where do the routes need to go to work better for our current system, because the current routes were developed before Sunrunner.
Yeah.
So I think now the routes have to be adapted to feed Sunrunner.
So tell
Or
us,
if
so the
we
people.
get future bus rapid transit.
Oh, yes, well, I'm hoping for that. We're all hoping for that.
Yeah.
You
It was discussed at our last board meeting.
you mentioned the community bus plan. Can we talk a little bit more about that? The PSTA
Yes.
is working on that right now.
So community bus plan is PSTA is looking for input from all stakeholders, people who use the bus just once in a while, and maybe you just used it this past Saturday to go to the Royal Rumble and get back. Biggest single day ridership for Sunrunner since a fare has been charged was this past Saturday. They
Oh,
had it was second. It was third only to Local Topia last year and St. Pete Pride. Yeah.
that is interesting, but I know, look, I know very little about the WWE uh Royal Rumble or SmackDown, whatever it is. Excuse me. I apologize to all the wrestling fans out there. But I was very confused because I saw that there was parking as far north as 38th Avenue. And I was like, why is there parking this far north away from Tropicana Field?
Mhm.
And so I don't know, were they like charging crazy amounts of money for parking at Tropicana Field, or was it
Well,
just popular, that many people were coming from all over the country, I guess, to go to this.
Mm-hmm. And they had floor seating. So not only the stands were filled, the floor was filled.
Oh, wow.
So they had over 50,000 people in that stadium. Without going into a whole nother story that will probably lead to another podcast, my father, when he was alive, used to have friends at the WWE and got to go to some of these big events. And trust me, they pull in people from everywhere. So I became very familiar with it for a short period of time. But again, that's my next podcast interview.
So the community bus plan. Sorry,
Yes,
can we get
community bus plan. So PSTA is looking from all stakeholders who can tell us how can transit better serve you. Would you rather have routes that are closer together? For example, where I live, the major road at each end of this street, there is a service. This one's 30-minute service, that one's 1 hour service. Would you rather have, you know, lines that are close to you running more often, or one line near you that runs more often and eliminate the other one so that we can take those services and put it elsewhere? What would better serve you, frequency or on time performance, all of that? And then PSTA is going to take that and hopefully use it to see how they can take what they have, the limited resources they have, the buses they have, and make the most bang for their buck.
So this is something that any resident of Pinellas County can participate. Any resident of Pinellas County can voice their opinion on this bus plan, this community bus plan.
Well, anybody, because don't forget, our transit system also serves tourists, and it also serves, visitors, people from Hillsborough County. So
So how
they can chime in as well.
so how can they do that? How can we give our two
There
cents?
is a link that I don't have available to me right now, but we can get that link out there, and it lets people just go online. And I believe if you go to psta.net, it is available, and they can
And
just chime in.
we can grab that link and post it when this episode airs as well. So it will be, yeah, in the description.
Yes. And yeah, anybody can chime in and, let their voices be heard about what can help to make transit riding, better in Pinellas. And it doesn't even have to be just about, necessarily riding the bus or riding the Sunrunner. How can we incorporate with other modes of getting around, the electric scooters and the rental bikes that are in downtown St. Pete, working together with all of that?
Why is it important that for the community to participate in this planning
Well,
process?
for me, and I mean, it should be obvious, two reasons. One, the community are the customers, and the community, through their tax dollars, pay for PSTA. This is their opportunity to have a say in the future of the transit throughout this county.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
People
agree.
know they can be part of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I said I agree. I would love to have a say in what does a transit agency that I'm using does with its resources.
Exactly. And, people do come to PSTA and voice their concerns about upcoming projects. And that's their right. They have every right to do that. But are they a customer? Are they actually using our service? Or are they more concerned, or is their concern coming from a place of something else I use is going to be taking away from me? And sometimes you also ask, are they really going after the right agency?
Right.
Because a lot of times, there's been some discussion about taking the lane away on certain streets throughout our community. Well, those streets are not owned by PSTA, nor are they owned by the city. They're actually owned by FDOT.
Yeah.
So the person who makes the intimate decision with FDOT is Tallahassee. It's the governor.
When you say take the lane away, you mean just repurposing the lane, correct?
Right.
Yes. The lane is
There's been a lot of talk about people being like, "You're taking away my lanes," but we're not. It's just being repurposed, right, or reorganized in a way.
That is correct.
Because we have the lanes with the Sunrunner uses, the lanes are still there.
Right.
They're just repurposed so that it really traffic runs, in my opinion, more efficiently now
Yeah.
because you have as much. You don't. if somebody's going to turn, they're going to go in that lane. So there's less slowing down on
Mhm.
that street I found for cars, and it seems a little safer too. So I think that the way they've sort of uh designated that lane, it made a lot of sense for that purpose, and I think that's great. The idea of considering that for other roads is, I think, a great idea.
You're absolutely correct. In fact, we saw a report at PSTA that says, from FDOT, that says since the repurposing of the lane for Sunrunner, that accidents in that corridor have dropped 25%.
I 100% believe that. Because I can
Yeah.
see it anecdotally. I can see traffic moving more freely down that road.
Mm-hmm.
And because less people usually take cars or drive their cars, they are taking the Sunrunner instead. So like it has also like that traffic has kind of, been
Mm-hmm.
replaced by more people taking the bus.
Yes, yes. And you can just see the traffic is a little bit more calm. When it
Yeah.
was 3 lanes and you had to cross the street to go from,
No.
from maybe where
Mm-mm.
the Walmart is over to Grand Central, it was like trying to cross the Autobahn. It was
Yeah.
it was intense.
Yeah, there's a lot of road
Yeah.
on First Avenue North and First Avenue South. I think it's great that they've made better use of how those lanes work.
Yes, and there's talk of it coming to another area of our city, and I'm looking forward to that. That sounds interesting too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you want to reveal any more, or do you want to keep that for another episode?
Yeah, we can keep that for another one if you want. But it's an interesting plan that they have. I like what I'm hearing.
So, switching topics a little bit, we've been following some of these proposed changes to the legislation that governs the PSTA. And we were wondering, can you share any updates with our listeners on the current status of that legislation?
Yeah, I have a little bit. From the last report I have, our legislative liaison was not at the last PSTA meeting, so Brad Miller was the one giving us this information. The bill is still being changed a little bit here and there with wording. It's still moving through committee. It will eventually go to the floor of the Florida House for a full vote. And then it moves over to the Senate. Now the way that local bills work in the state of Florida is when they go to the Senate, they're put on what's called a consent agenda. They're not debated. There does not have to be a Senate companion bill. However, once it's there, if any senator in that chamber believes that it needs to be pulled, it can be pulled.
Interesting. So there's no debate once it hits Senate at all, huh?
No, that's why if they feel that it needs to be debated, it can be pulled and
I
more closely examined.
I see. Because it does affect a lot of people. It really changes the way it limits the PSTA in a bit. It makes it less efficient, which is uh,
It, it the
not great. I don't know who thinks that's great, but making things less efficient and wasteful is just not, well, we shouldn't say wasteful, but making things less efficient, less effective is not good. No bueno.
Yeah,
No.
it didn't make any sense to me why it was written. It was written as a bill that was going to help PSTA be more efficient and help them streamline and because it would help us get rid of these empty buses that are running up and down streets that are 80% empty most of the time. But nowhere in the legislation did I see anything that said, and here's how we're going to help. It
Mm.
just said, and this is what we're taking away, and this is what we're limiting, and this is how it's going to change. And it's going to help in what way?
Well,
It would take some of our larger communities in Pinellas County, Oldsmar, Dunedin, City of Clearwater, and it wouldn't have even given them a voice in PST anymore. They wouldn't have a
and those,
representative on the board.
Yeah.
and those people are paying taxes towards the PSTA.
Yeah.
They should have a voice. So taking
Right.
that away from them is to me, just an injustice.
Whereas there's other parts of Pinellas County that do not pay into PSTA and gets to have a voice.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, if you look at who the bill, then
Yeah.
you'd understand why they did.
Mhm.
I
That is
think
correct.
it's more about yeah, it's more about being able to tell people what they should do with their tax money than, yeah. Anyway,
One of the views that that I don't want to say my committee, but the Transit Riders Committee and myself have expressed, and I've said this at board meetings, is, you know, government should not be used as a weapon to get people back for something you don't like.
Right. Yeah. Well said.
Mhm. So, and we have also invited a certain representative from St. Pete Beach, excuse me, to our meetings. We even had a member who said, "I'm a Republican. I will invite her." We've never seen her.
Mm.
yeah, well, I attended the legislative delegation, and there was some of that. Like, we've been trying to involve the people that are sort of proposing
Proposal.
this
Yeah. Mhm.
to work on making PSTA better, and they just ignore us, and so it just feels like yeah, it just feels like a ill-intended piece of legislation.
Yes,
It's sort of held with this, oh, we're doing great things, but it's not actually. It's not really doing anything to help us
I know.
in
I wish I
terms.
had been able to go to that meeting, and unfortunately, it was not live streamed, or else I would have been watching it and cheering you on from afar. But it wasn't. So, yeah.
Well, we'll see where this goes. Hopefully, this bill gets voted down, because it's certainly not great for St. Pete, and I don't think it's good for Pinellas County either. Um, Anything else you want to say on that before we?
No, not really. I try to stay apolitical
Mhm.
as much as I can when it comes to, the position that I hold, because it's not a political position.
Right.
And I try to not bring my personal politics into this, because we have to work with everybody.
Right.
And this is the first time since I've been on PSTA that something major has come up, and it was political and in our face. And it's a little different for me, but I'm learning how to, toe the line in a respectful way.
Well, good luck. That's a great skill to have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
I
True.
constantly have to hold
I
my tongue.
Yeah. I mean,
it,
yeah.
it takes a lot of tact, I'll tell you that much. And um, I've learned from some very good people.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's been wonderful having you on the show and
Mhm.
talk about the Transit Riders Advisory Committee and all the great things that you guys are doing. Thank you for doing all the work that you do. It's great to know that there's a group of people that actually are, have an intimate relationship with PSTA that are in ride transit that are helping to make the decisions that PSTA is then um, enacting. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, it's really nice. I've gotten to have a really very good relationship with some of the people at PSTA, that to the point that, not only do I call them like co-workers, so to speak, I actually call them friends, and I can just call them and be like, "Hey, there's a problem." And I think that's one of the best kind of relationships to have.
of course,
For
yeah.
sure, yes. Thank you so much again for coming on the podcast and also having fun with the Jeopardy round. That was really fun.
That was slightly embarrassing that I didn't know a few of those answers. Yeah, this was fun. I would love to come back and talk more about some of the new projects that we have coming up at PSTA.
And for our listeners, Car Free St. Pete committee application is on our website. The application is due on February 6th. So please, if you're interested, please join us on the committee. We are a fun bunch, I promise you.
I think I know
Yeah,
somebody who applied.
Great.
and of course, we will also be posting a link to participate in the community bus plan on Radio St. Pete on for this program. And thanks for listening. Keep listening. Tune in to Sunshine 96.7 and check us out online, Radio St. Pete, Car Free Conversations, and check out Car Free St. Pete, our website, for the Car Free St. Pete Committee application that's due just next week.